If you want to add some extra stylings to your website, I'm throwing in an extra video here. And just add some more aesthetic value to your website, which is a little nicer. And I'm also going to show how to implement Google Fonts, which we're going to be covering in class, but I thought I would include a video as well, because I know some of y'all are going to be having questions. So let's go ahead and get started. So we just finished our website. It's looking pretty good. What I'm going to be adding is a background color to all this white space right here that kind of complements our website. I'm going to be adding Google Fonts, changing our fonts. Basically, it's fonts that's not located on our computer because we have what we're called web safe fonts, which is like Helvetica, Georgia, Verdana, Myriad. Basically, what web safe fonts means is these are located on all computers, PCs and Macs. We're going to be linking in some Google fonts, which makes the fonts available on any type of computer. So no matter where you're at, these fonts will be available. We're going to do a fixed image background to our dog right here, which is going to add a nice little effect when we're scrolling down. So let's go ahead and start with our body background color first. So in brackets, if we notice everything is wrapped in, well, it's wrapped in our body tag really, if you notice that. So we're just going to target this body tag in our CSS. I'm going to type at the very top. The order of it really doesn't matter because it's just it reads the browser reads the document from top to bottom. So we're just going to throw it in the top because it helps me keep organized. We're going to do a background color. We're going to write background for short to save some time. I already selected a value in Photoshop, A0412 Again, you can choose your own color on this. I really don't care if you find a color that blends better. Go ahead and go for it. Now we give it background color. Now if we notice, it kind of washes our feature section out. That's because we never defined a background color on that ID. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's find our features ID, which is right here underneath our features section. Let's give it a background color of white. There we go. Now, as I mentioned in the last video with the clear fix, how we were adding this right before the closing tag, this is what it does. Because if you notice, it has the contents of our tagline, which is fine, but once you start adding floats, it basically kind of disregards the content inside. And so that's why we need the clear fix right before the closing tag. There's that. All right, next we're going to fix our hero unit background image. So let's go to our hero unit in our CSS. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and we don't need this split view anymore because we're only messing with our CSS right now. So here's our hero unit. We'll put these side by side. So we already have our background right here. We're going to work within that same line. Right after the URL for our image, we are going to do what's called background positioning. There's one that is called fixed. So we're going to write the word fixed. We'll go more in detail. We'll be going more in depth of these later. I'm just kind of playing around with these for now. Let's do fixed, save, refresh. Now if you notice, if I kind of stretch my browser, it stays fixed in place right there, which is kind of cool. But if you notice, it starts repeating right there. So that's when we do the background positioning. In the past, we've done center, center. Whoops, I'll do it right after the word fixed. We did center and center. Let's see what this does. Now, if you notice, it automatically positions the background picture right in the middle of your browser. So if I change the height, it's exactly in the center of whatever the dimensions of our browser. So we want no repeat for sure. Let's see what it does. Let's save that, refresh. Almost there. So instead of doing center, center, let's do center top. Say refresh. There we go. So now no matter how we reposition our browser, it's always going to look good right there. And it's just a nice little effect. I like adding this to my website because it makes it a little more interactive. So what we did is background position of fixed, positioned it center top, and we really don't need the no repeat because we had it in position now. So we see it and refresh, it still does the same thing. So the reason why we don't need that is because we have the background dimensions of that dog set to 1280 by 800, or that's the size we cropped it out to, is 1280 pixels by 800 pixels. All right, now let's link some Google fonts. So if I'm gonna open up a new browser and just type in Google Fonts. If you notice, it's the first URL that pops up, google.com/fonts. And there's hundreds and hundreds of fonts on here. Lots of them are fairly, a lot of them are not designed very well. So the one that I use on the website was called Open Sans, which is actually the top one here. You can also search for different types of fonts. Big, if you actually know the name, or you can do by categories over here. But we're going to do Open Sans. If I actually click on it, there's more options for us to choose from right here. What I'm going to do is go to Add a Collection, because this is the font I want to use. Now, what happens is when we click on Add to Collection, we can check mark each one we use. And if each one we check mark, if you notice down here, it adds these to our list. We have some italicized ones. I'm not going to use any italicized ones. In fact, the only ones that I did use, I used a bold font once for a footer, and the rest of them were skinny fonts. So I was going to uncheck all these. So you'll see the little numbers right beside them, 300, 400, 600, 700, 800. Just like how we were doing the font weights earlier, these are the exact same ways. So I have all the fonts I want selected. I'm going to do the 300 font and the 700 one. Look on the bottom here. I want to use these, so I'm going to click on the Use button, the bottom right. Again, if I want to choose the styles again, I can go back here, recheck, uncheck some of them. Even lets us know the page load time. So for example, if I had all of these selected, a little page load meter speeds up there, or goes up, which means it takes slightly longer to load some of these because we're loading them from a separate website. But I just want my light ones and my bold one. Choose the character sets you want. We don't need to choose any of these because by default they are rendered in English, and we're not going to be doing our websites in any other language. Now we need to add these to our website. Just like how we linked our CSS files, we're going to be linking these font files. So it gives you, we have our standard tab right here. If you look at the way the link's written, it's almost exactly like how our CSS link is. So I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to paste this into the header section of my HTML file. Let's open up my index.html. Scroll to the top. I'll paste this right underneath my CSS. I now have 3 links. My 2 CSS files, custom CSS reset, and now my link to my font style sheet. Of course, the CSS style sheet is not in our folder. That's because we are linking it to a live web page that Google hosts. So we're going to keep that there. Going to go ahead and save. Now I check my website. Obviously nothing changes because we haven't declared these values to our fonts yet. If I go back to my Google Fonts, if I go to step 4, it shows you how to integrate the fonts into your CSS. So if you see the little line of code right there, it's just like how we write it in our CSS. The font family, this time it's Open Sans, and it gives you another font value there as well, just in case Open Sans isn't loading. It will default load a sans serif font. If you go on the right here, it kind of shows a little example of how they have it written in their CSS. Their example shows it on H1, font family, and whatever their fonts are. So I'm going to copy this line on step 4. And I had it on my hero unit H1. I was going to delete that line and paste my new line of code, the Open Sans. Go ahead and save, refresh, and it changes. Next one is my tagline, which is in my features. So H2, I'm going to replace my H2, replace my P tag. Basically anywhere where it says font family Helvetica, I'm replacing with what I just copied. I go to my code, column right H3, font family H3. For repeat. Save, refresh, and my text is now updated. Now you can have more than one type of font on here. Let's go ahead and play with this, for example, this H1 tag. Go back to Google Fonts. Click back on Choose. Let's select a more stylistic font. Let's try Alpha Slab. I like this one. So we see a font that we like. We're going to click to add to collection. Now, if you notice down here on the very bottom, it says collection 2 font families. Let's go back to use again. Now it says Open Sans, which is the one we selected earlier. Now Alpha Slab 1. Now Alpha Slab, it only has one style to choose from. Some of the fonts are set up that way. Whoever designs these fonts, sometimes they make different weights, and sometimes they don't. So nothing much we can do about it. So if you notice, it changed the line in our code. Now it says not only does it say Open Sans, but it has the Alpha Slab one as well. So I'm going to copy this again and just replace my other one because we're going to be targeting both font families that we want to use. Replace that line in my index.html. Save it. Now it gives me, on step 4, it gives me 2 options now. My font family Open Sans, which we already have implemented. Now our font family Alpha Slab. Copy this. Go to my CSS file. Now I wanted to change my H1 tag. That was in my hero unit, so I'm just going to replace that line again. So it says font family Alpha Slab. Hopefully this updates. We did everything right. Whoops. Refresh. Oh, there it is. Took a second for it to load. And that font actually looks pretty close to the typeface I use for my logo, which is kind of cool. No wonder why I like that font. And that is the end of this video.